Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Philly Phone Book, a podcast archive. I am your host, Gideon Caro McDonald, and with me today is a dear friend of mine, a local illustrator to Philadelphia. We got Hadley Precht in the house.
Hi. Hello.
Hi, Hadley.
Hi. Fern, can you put in a little what's the applause track from iCarly? Specifically the one where there's a celebrity cameo.
Woo! Yeah, look at that. I wish I had one of those like little remotes.
The little remote that Sam had. Yeah, me too.
Dang, they probably exist.
Probably just a soundboard on your phone.
Soundboard? Oh, right, true. God, modern technology. Hadley, how are we doing today?
I'm doing awesome possum.
Awesome possum.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm going to peel back the curtain a little bit, gang. We've done this before. Hadley and I, look, hey, podcasting, it's easy. But like it's got some bumps in the road here and there, and we ran into a little bit of a technical difficulty a little while back when Hadley and I tried to record an episode before. So for us, it's a little bit of Groundhog's Day. But for you guys, this is the first time you're hearing from Hadley at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically my first time because I already forgot what I said.
Oh,
so,
me too.
Yeah.
It's all gone. It's all gone. All gone from my memory, all gone from the storage in my computer. Yeah. But we're here, and I'm so happy to talk to you.
Yeah, it's so nice.
We're going to talk about art. Alrighty, so let's get started. I know you pretty well. However, that doesn't mean that everybody listening knows you at all. So, why don't I give you the floor, and you tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so hello everyone. My name is Hadley. I'm an illustrator and a designer based in Philadelphia. I do a lot of like cyberpunk sci-fi illustrations. I like to do like ink illustrations, but I also do a little bit of pixel art just for fun on the side. A lot of people just know me as Hadley on my socials. I like to make a lot of my own creations, but I also like to dabble in some fan stuff as well. People seem to like that. And then I've done comics, I've done zines, I've done a little bit of like my own publishing illustration. I like to make fake like little books and like fake little design things to make it look like it was super old when actually I made it yesterday.
The trick of the mind.
Yeah.
And the eye.
Yeah.
A full gambit of skill. That's so exciting. Yeah, you attended University of the Arts.
I did.
For school. That's how we met.
Yes.
And then you ended up at Moore.
Yes.
More. What's the full name?
More College of Art and Design.
There it is. That's the full name. And now we're living post-grad life as a freelance artist here in Philadelphia.
Yes, and I am a freelance illustrator. That includes things like personal commissions, little mini commissions like little sprite art and stuff. I do side projects like fan projects with people. I also do beer labels. That was something I didn't plan on doing.
Beer labels.
Yep, and then I do like sometimes I do freelance publishing illustration for just personal clients who maybe want to do something for like postcards, books, whatever it may be.
Oh, well, I'm excited to get into that. Before we start talking about specifics, why don't we talk about a bit of getting to this point? Your journey here. Has art always been the plan for a little young Hadley?
Pretty much, yeah. People ask me how long I've been drawing. I usually say that like I picked up a pencil when I was like 6 years old and I just didn't put it down. I used to, when I was a kid, obviously you watch a lot of cartoons, you read stuff. My sister and I used to pause the TV and just draw what we were seeing on the TV. And then
like what shows?
Mostly Invader Zim.
Ooh,
yeah,
okay,
a lot of that.
That's fair. There's a lot of very unique character designs in that show.
Really unique, yeah. I really love the technology that they use in that show. It's very like H.R. Geiger-esque. I can see a lot of that. Great show. But yeah, we used to draw from like a lot of stuff. And then I think I just didn't stop. I didn't stop, and then I think maybe I was around 11 years old. Because I would go on YouTube a lot and like look at art stuff. I believe. Gosh, I feel like such a dingus for not remembering the professor's name, but there's a professor at SVA who I don't know if he still does this or he at least used to do these sketchbook tours of his students at SVA.
Oh, wow.
All 4 years in their like drawing program, and he would one of the assignments for SVA was that you had to like get like an entire sketchbook and like fill the whole thing in like 4 to 6 weeks, and so for that like and then by the end of it when it was full he would like do a sketchbook tour, and I remember being like 11 and seeing that and I'm like, I need to do that. I need to go to an art school and do that. And then so I knew I wanted to draw, like I always had the desire to make art when I was a kid, but I was around 10 or 11 when I knew, I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do like for like a living. I didn't know if I wanted to do illustration. I dabbled in animation a lot.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, like MS Paint was my best friend. I used to make little animations in MS Paint. I didn't even have a drawing tablet. I've just used a trackpad. And hey, I rock a trackpad. You know, like to this day, I still rock a trackpad. So that's what led me to University of the Arts specifically.
Okay.
I knew I wanted to go to an art school. I wanted to go to a really good art school, and I knew I wanted to live in the city.
Gotcha. And was Philly always on your radar? Like, was that always this is the city I want to live in?
No. No, but I don't regret it for a second. I actually think it was one of the best decisions I ever made. It was one of the hardest decisions I ever made, but I did it because it was it felt more plausible than New York. It felt more affordable than New York. It was in state, which would have really helped me. I had a really nice scholarship from University of the Arts for the portfolio that I submitted at the time. I was in AP Studio Art when I was in high school, and that
cool.
really helped me get that scholarship. And then it was also like not too far from home. It was about 2 hours west of where I grew up in. So yeah.
Did you said your sister and you would, draw together when you were young? Do you come from a family of artists, or were you like a surprise in the batch that like committed to a quote unquote interest or hobby?
Kind of.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the first in my family to pursue art professionally.
Gotcha.
I think a lot of people in my family, especially my father's side of the family, definitely had that creative side. A lot of relatives that I had who, were really into music, play a lot of instruments.
Yeah.
People who can draw or just they just didn't pursue it professionally. Just a lot of people that I grew up with creatively, but they never actually pursued it, professionally.
Yeah.
Both of my sisters are incredibly talented. I'm the only one who's in art. My sisters are both in STEM.
Boom.
Yeah.
A career has been made.
Yeah.
And you ended up in Philly.
Yes.
For UArts. Then moved to Moore after something happened.
Yeah.
Like dramatic noise, Fern, or something like a.
But do like,
I don't know.
Oh, put the vine boom in there. Put the vine boom. Yeah, put the vine boom. Yeah.
Vine boom, please,
Yeah.
Fern. UArts closed, as we all know, as we've talked about many a time on this podcast. And then you finished your education at Moore.
Yes.
And left with a BFA?
Yes.
Nice.
So a BFA in illustration.
Yeah.
I had BFA illustration. I didn't declare a minor. There was nothing. I think at the time at University of the Arts, I didn't feel like there was anything in particular to declare a minor for. And then by that, it was my final year at Moore, and I was a senior. I wasn't really interested in like
Ready to get out.
Yeah, I feel like I had everything that I needed. I think maybe when I was a freshman, like if comics was a minor that existed, I would have taken that.
Yeah, for sure.
But but that didn't exist, and I think the school didn't have much of a reason to make it exist, because that was it's just so closely aligned with illustration, and it's something that you can do as an illustrator. I just did things like I just did a lot of like extracurriculars, like clubs. I did like the zine club. I Zap Outlet.
Whoa! Shout out Zap Outlet.
Yeah.
Or Rip Zap Outlet,
Rip
more
Zap
accurately.
Outlet. Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah, that was a zine club at UArts.
Yeah.
That was founded by Jimmy Pensabene. Shout out Jimmy. And Ella. Right? Ella
yeah.
Carter.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so fun.
Yeah.
I think I put a splash in that once for my band.
I mostly just did like stuff on the side like that, and then whenever there was an assignment, I tried to like really sink my teeth into it.
Lock in.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Lock in. How was the transition into more for you?
It was okay.
Yeah.
It was fine. I think, honestly, at that point, I was, like, UArts had closed, and I think the closure made everyone really cynical.
Oh, yeah.
And including myself, and I'm pretty, like, optimistic, and I was, still.
Right.
But I was also over the whole, like, song and dance of, come to orientation, welcome to campus, yada, 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 which I think if I was, like, 18, I would have been, like, clacking my heels and jumping around, like, that gif of the cat jumping around. I love that video. I love that. Yippee, 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 yippee. Like...
You say gif?
No.
Anyway, let's continue. You were saying, sorry.
But it was definitely a way different culture. Way different culture.
How so?
I think in terms of some of the curriculum, in some of the infrastructure, and also the fact that it's not co-ed. Or as we're recording, it's not co-ed. I know that the Moore Board of Trustees is actually discussing right now. They're having meetings talking about making it co-ed.
Yes, I've heard about this.
Yeah. The Moore's campus is made up of 2 buildings fused together.
Gotcha.
So it's just one big building. They own a few apartment complexes. They recently bought one in Rittenhouse. And so those are some of their outside dorms. But they also have a dorm in that main campus building. So there's shuttles that can take you from the dorms over there.
Gotcha.
I did not live in any of the dorms. I had my own place by then. But hypothetically speaking, if you wanted to, you could live in that building for like the full 4 years, and everything that you need there is in that building. All your food, all your classes, everything. There's an art shop. You know what I mean? Like everything that you really need, you can just live in there and not leave.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, obviously people weren't doing that. I mean, there are plenty of people who weren't doing that. But I think it being on the Parkway and the fact that you don't have to leave can make you feel really isolated. It's a very closed off community. And so I would like to, like, if I have the ability to re-enter more as a community, like, and re-enter that little garden, I would love to be able to help people and just help people come out of their shell. I'm a part of the Moore alumni. I am a alumni admissions ambassador.
Oh, cool. So
that just means that whenever Moore is having an event, they contact me. I come over. I talk to people about, like, incoming students. I would love to come back and be, like, a site coordinator for maybe, like, a pre-college.
Yeah.
I would love to do that. Just because, this is, like, the last, like, big private art school in Philadelphia.
Right.
Which is a big reason why they're thinking about becoming co-ed.
A species going extinct.
It is, unfortunately, and, personally, I'm a big fan of them becoming co-ed. As someone who attended UArts, I would not have met all these, I wouldn't have met you.
Yeah, that's true.
If I went to Moore for the full 4 years, I would not have met you, and, like, there's so much, to be missed when you're not co-ed, you know what I mean? I personally think that, like, when you're out there in the field, you're not going to be closed off. You're not, so you have to be out there. The thing about University of the Arts, and I think the reason why the culture was so different was because you did have, not only was a university in that you had to, like, you're with other majors, so I was commuting, like, I was talking to dance majors, I'm talking to theater majors, I'm talking to people who make music, and not just visual arts, but it was out in the open in the city. So if you needed to get anywhere, if you needed to get food, do your homework, buy something, go to class. You needed to go outside and walk up and down Broad Street.
Yeah, yeah.
And that meant you had to interact with Philadelphia. You had to be in the city. Sorry. But yeah, you had to be, and actually interact.
Yeah, that was a strength of the school.
It was a really big strength. It was
a selling point.
It was a selling point, and it was and I will say it was scary at first.
Yeah, you had mentioned it was a big leap.
It was a huge leap
coming to UArts in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I think there's this phenomenon that I think I suffered from, that I think a lot of people suffer from, and I think that it's difficult to overcome, and I think that it's even more difficult if you're a Moore student to overcome it because of the infrastructure of the school.
Right.
I call it the suburban scaries.
Yes, I'm familiar.
Yeah, I grew up in the suburbs. I'm from York County originally. And so when you're there, you're very closed off from the city. You don't have a lot of interaction. Like, your very small, close-knit community is really all you have. Mm-hmm. You are mostly traveling by car. You can't really walk anywhere, so you're not used to just walking out and about by yourself with a bunch of other strangers passing by you.
Right, yeah.
And so, in the suburbs, because you don't have that exposure socially, it feels alien. And then on top of that, if you watch any of the news in the suburbs, in those areas, 90% of the time it's something scary is happening in Philadelphia. Something nightmarish is going down in Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, bad.
It is. No, it really is.
Yeah.
And then but I've been living in Philadelphia for 4 years now, and then when I hear about something that happened, I'm like, what? That happened?
Yeah. Look,
really?
Something happened.
Yeah.
It's a big city.
Yeah, it is a big city. So you have a lot of people, plenty of people are like me, where they're coming from central Pennsylvania, or they're coming from New Jersey, or they're coming from all the way in like Florida, coming from all over the country.
Right.
And they're here in the city. They've never been here. They've never been in a place like this, and they're terrified, and it's so frightening. And those orientation groups at UArts, where I had to go out and walk around, and made me realize oh, I'm still alive,
Right. Yeah.
So
for sure.
And then after a while, you just pick it up as you go, and you realize it's really not as scary as people make it out to be. At least not in the places that I was hanging out in.
UArts was a really good way to steep yourself into the culture.
Yeah.
Because Broad Street's in your face.
Yeah, really in your face.
For good and for bad. But overall, it's the city experience.
Yeah.
And you speak to a really common experience for college students coming into a big city like Philadelphia, and one where you're coming into the city for art, self-expression, something that is naturally vulnerable.
Yeah.
And during my time at UArts, I had the pleasure to be a resident assistant, an RA, and part of my job was to help bring out. Yo, shut up.
We're talking about the city experience.
We're talking about, right? I know. Help kids come out of the shell.
Yeah.
Like freshmen that would be in dorms on my floor that wouldn't know how to go to, social events.
Yeah.
Or talk to their neighbors, or even meet another major, right?
Yes.
And I think, to your point, UArts had a strength, and art schools as a whole have the strength of this co-ed type experience where you're mingling with all kinds of different self-expression. And I had a wonderful time being able to share what the city is and the benefits of saying hi to your neighbor, and going to an event where you're gonna see an open mic, right? See some people perform, see some art on the walls that people made. It was a blast, and especially for me, having grown up here, it's such a pleasure to be able to share my culture and home with so many people. Yeah.
Yeah, you're totally right. I think it was, like I said, I mean, I absolutely had that suburban scaries. I totally had that. Moving to Philadelphia was one of the hardest things I ever did, but it's absolutely one of the best decisions I ever made.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes a change in environment can do so much for you. I didn't realize, I think before I moved to Philadelphia, before I went to college, I didn't realize like how happy I could be. Until I moved, and then I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, oh wow, this is awesome.
This is what it feels like.
Yeah, no, really, that's really what it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ah, that's lovely.
Yeah.
And now you're here.
Yeah.
And you're still here.
And I'm still here.
Working, freelance.
Yeah.
Living that post-grad life. Would you say that, your 4 years here in Philadelphia, coming up closer to 5, have been positive? Or like a positive effect on your artistry, being involved in the community here, the arts community. How has that been for you, separated from a collegiate context?
Yeah.
And has the city taught you any lessons, whether it be art or personal?
Yeah. Someone's in trouble.
Someone's in trouble.
Oh, no. You're in trouble.
Look, I opened the window because it gets hot in here.
Yeah.
And maybe a city podcast is fine to have some city ambiance.
Yeah.
So Fern, that's up to you.
See, that's an ambulance sound. That's not the police sound.
That is an ambulance. Someone
got an ouchie.
Yeah, someone's in trouble in a different way.
Oh, someone got a splinter in their foot or something.
A really big splinter.
Really big.
Anyway, my question was, how has it been experiencing the art culture in Philadelphia separate from a collegiate experience, and has it taught you any lessons?
A lot.
Cool.
I think that like specifically the zine culture.
Cool, yeah.
I would go to T-Moms a lot.
Shout out T-Moms.
Yeah, I love T-Moms. And I would see flyers and I would see stickers. I even go like up and down South Street to like South Street Art Mart and stuff. And like pick up flyers for that and see like who wants to do a zine, who wants to like have someone sell their stuff here, who wants to do tabling, who wants to do this, who wants to do that. I loved being a part of that. I've been a part of a few like zine projects, like on and off.
Yeah.
As they come and as they go, and as I have the time for them.
Right.
But yeah, absolutely. I think like for me, experiencing that and seeing people do that, it made me feel a lot more grounded in the ability to do things independently.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Because when I was a kid, I thought like I don't even see. I majored in illustration. I'm not an animator. I'm not even a 3D animator. But not even a 3D animator. But I was kind of told like one day you'll be working at Disney. You'll be making the Pixar movies at Disney, and I'm like.
You're gonna make the next Toy Story.
I know. I'm like, well, and that's the thing is like I just but it makes me realize you don't have to work for some big company. You don't have to do that.
Right.
You can still do things on your own, and people will still love that, and people will still really like interact with that. And I think I'm learning that as out of graduation. I don't you don't necessarily have to get like some big corporate job, doing graphic design or something like that. You can still do the things that you want to do. You can still make things that you like, and usually people like who also like that will get into it. I never expected, me getting like any sort of attention for just liking something.
Yeah.
And I just make things because I like them, and then people were very receptive to that. Even better if I get Cromer for it, outside of my day job.
Right.
But like, yeah, like,
that's such a brilliant point. Like, I don't think I've had someone put it in those words of like, I'm just making a thing not to join any like big machine.
Yeah.
That like I think a lot of the sterilized art world is referred to as now.
Yeah.
Like Hollywood and like these big like conglomerate companies that, own everything now. This comes up a lot as an actor, like, this concept of, Broadway or making it in the movies and that kind of thing. Like, I've realized with my time staying in Philly and doing my, job here that I can still feel artistically fulfilled.
Yes.
And even more so honest about my work doing local independent projects without feeling like I have to work my way towards the machine,
Yeah.
right? To use for lack of a better term. And I guess I never considered how that also falls under the same umbrella for illustration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, and even, to what you're saying, like, I feel like as the years go by, and maybe it's just because, maybe my algorithm just knows me really well, or maybe I just choose to only look at this sort of thing, but I feel like we're seeing like a really, really big uptick in independent things getting really, really big, and almost, as big as, like corporate or like big industry stuff.
Yeah.
This, I think this pertains a little bit to illustration just because of, I do take a lot of visual inspiration from works like this, but we did recently watch Iron Lung.
True, we did, yeah.
We did. And you also got to watch me fall in the theater and trip over and spill popcorn in front of, like, how many people were in that theater?
A lot.
At least,
Picture this. Picture this for my listeners. AMC. It's like a Tuesday night?
It was still my work clothes.
10 p.m. Tuesday, watching a horror movie made by a YouTuber we all grew up with. Shout out Markiplier. Like middle of a really, really intense scene.
It's really intense.
Of this movie. If you don't know the concept of Iron Lung, I'm not going to go into it, but basically it is about like a guy in a small, shoddily made submarine in a ocean of blood. Just picture what stuff can occur with that. And something awful is happening to Markiplier on the big screen right in front of me. And over to my left, Hadley is like scurrying through the theater, climbing up the stairs with a popcorn that she had been waiting on for like probably an hour at that point.
An hour, because they had to dig out like, I went out there and the popcorn machine was like, it just smelled like burnt popcorn. And they're like, and they came to me, they're like, we have to dig the whole thing out. We have to clean it out. And I'm like, okay. And I was gonna wait, but then one of our friends who was with us texted me. He was like, "You gotta get in here. It's starting." I'm like,
"Gotta get in."
I'm not missing Iron Lung for some popcorn. I'm sorry. So I waited like an hour until I thought it got quiet, and then when I went back in, I was like, "Oh, something's going down."
Then he dashed through, ran up the stairs, and immediately face planted into the upward stairwell with popcorn flying
everywhere.
Around you.
It was
like a Looney Tunes cartoon.
Yeah, it's just all I could see in the dark was like. The popcorn scattered in front of me, and then I look up and I see all like the line of my friends' faces, like all trying not to bust a gut laughing.
It was a terrible time to laugh during the movie.
It's hilarious. Yeah. How do you fall up the steps?
Trip.
Yeah. So it seems.
Trip.
Yeah.
So it seems. Beyond that side tangent, we did get to see Iron Lung.
Yes.
Which is a really excellent example for independent work.
Yeah.
Becoming notable.
Yeah.
And mainstream, like this Markiplier being a YouTuber that our generation admires, someone that simply shared his personality and played video games online, became a national phenomenon, but only in a very niche context, as a YouTuber, because I feel like there's there's a certain look that the majority of mainstream art has on creatives on YouTube, like not seeing it as valid or like real art.
Yeah.
And here he comes out of the blue, like over a year working on this independent film that he like produced, starred in, and distributed independently.
Yeah.
And made like 9 times his budget. Something ridiculous like that.
I think recently they hit 50 million globally.
Oh my lord!
And the budget was 3 million. Okay, so that's crazy.
Which is just such a win.
It is such a win, right? W for independent artists.
And I think the world yearns for it right now.
Yes.
With AI and with all this other like corporate slop that we're experiencing.
My God, yeah.
I think it's a very real moment in time where people are hungry for art that feels real and honest and personal again.
Yeah, and then to touch on the human experience and to talk about that. I think, especially with the topic of AI, having to be a freelance illustrator in a world where people were using AI, And it's not just it's not just corporations doing it to cut costs. It's also just people who just don't know any better. Like,
Yeah.
there's plenty of people who, like, clients that you'll have who use AI, and it's not necessarily malicious. They just didn't know, because it's so unfortunately AI is, I think the AI bubble is hopefully bursting soon. But I think that, like, while there is a culture of people who hate AI and are aware that AI is not something to be cherished, or generative AI is something not to be cherished. When I say AI, I mean generative,
Right.
and not the kind of stuff that does, like, save lives and
Right.
like
The
does hard
tools. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that shit's great.
That stuff's great. But but I still think that there is a culture of people who are casual about it, who just casually use it, and they don't understand the environmental impact, the impact it has on culture, the impact it has on misinformation,
Yep.
especially on, like, what is and what isn't true. And I think people forget about that. It's just another, like, fun device to use. And so I think that, like, being able to have that clear distinction of, this was human made. This is made by humans for humans. I mentioned I do beer labels.
Yeah.
It hurts going into my local beer store and seeing, like, straight up AI generated beer labels.
Yeah.
And thankfully the client that I've worked with has never done that. So to talk a little bit about, independent Philly art, Philadelphia's oldest brewery, Dock Street Brewery, last holiday season, so in 2024, November, December 2024, I did a beer label for them. Zero Fox Given. It's a red IPA. And that was actually meant to be it was kind of like a more pre-thesis assignment.
Gotcha.
But it was kind of like a contest thing, and I actually really appreciated that about more. In fact, I appreciated it more than the Eli poster. Don't everybody get up at once. I mean, the Eli was great. Eli was great. Rest in peace.
Remind us what Eli is again. For those that
Eli was the
don't speak UArts lingo.
Eli was the UArts illustration thesis show. And so the Eli poster was basically a poster promoting the show itself. So the first assignment you did before you even got started on your thesis in your senior year of the illustration program is everyone made a design for the poster
to submit
to it,
and then one would get picked,
and then that was the one that was used, and then, like, that poster was, like, that would be around forever. Like, you can look for, like, I'm sure posters from, like, every year prior, and that was really cool. And there's some really awesome posters. I think the last year that we did the Eli poster for class of 24, I think they made a beautiful poster. And I will have to look up the name of the artist later. Fern, if you can put, like, a name or something like that, or, like, because I will
give them a shout out.
Yeah, give them a shout out.
Whoa, it's future Gideon. It's not Fern. Hi, it's me. It's Gideon. Here's an answer to that question Hadley had. The artist that did the Eli 2024 poster is named Ari Santiago. So go check out Ari Santiago's work at GIKOGATO. Geeko Gato? Probably? On Instagram. Sick. Back to you guys.
Because they were an incredible illustrator. And so I loved that, but I loved Dock Street more. And not just because I got picked.
Right, not because I won and I'm better than everyone else.
But it was because it was a job. It was a real job.
Right, real world experience.
They paid me to do that.
That's awesome.
When I got picked, they paid me. And now they're a client. I'm still in contact with Dock Street Brewery. They said they would like to do a new label sometime in the future.
Yay.
Which is awesome. I love keeping track of clients. They're really great friends of mine. Shout out to Dock Street Brewery. And the coolest thing is that, if the label does well, if the beer sells well, they'll put it back on shelves. And it did go back on shelves this past Christmas.
Look at that. Boom.
Yeah, Vine boom.
And hey, alcohol and other such like that they sell because people like the way they look.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
know, I've absolutely purchased like a beverage because I'm like, oh, that design's sick. That probably tastes good.
Exactly.
Like that's marketing. That's your brain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what? And like, there's a reason why I keep drinking the Godzilla PBR. You know what I mean?
And
like,
they're exactly
because it's got freaking Godzilla
because
on it.
it's
It's
got
cool.
Godzilla on it, and I think everybody needs to take that as a lesson.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks awesome.
It looks awesome, and the design that you made for Duck Street looks awesome.
Thank you.
We
yeah.
have it on our mantle downstairs.
Yeah.
Because it's a really, really gorgeous design.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. The I think like, and that was the fun part about it, was that it was technically an assignment, but I you know, you could say like, yes, the design is what got me picked, but I think
Right.
I honestly think a big part of it was just treating it like a job and not like an assignment.
Of course.
Because I'm sure I could have treated it way differently and could have just like gone about it way differently, and not have that enthusiasm. But I think what got me there to that finish line of actually them choosing it was having a really good relationship with the client, like having like a really nice professional relationship, and also just you know, being able to do things like revisions and being able to, you know, and also laying it out. Like when I made the first like the first version of it before we did any revisions on it, I already had like a barcode on it. Like I already put like, I made it look like it was a real thing. I didn't put any lorem ipsums on there. And it turns out they actually liked some of the things that I wrote on there as placeholder text.
Oh, cool.
I'm not anti lorem ipsum. I am anti AI type, obviously. But sometimes I'll just like to write my own stuff on there just to make sure that just to make it look kind of authentic.
What is lorem ipsum?
Lorem ipsum is a design thing that people do. So
Okay.
lorem ipsum is Latin. It's I
Okay.
forget what it actually means. It basically is just if you were to use any like Adobe program or any like professional program and you put in type, you'll get a bunch of random text that's in Latin, and usually the first two words are lorem ipsum, and it'll just be garble of Latin. But it's a lot better than just doing random like random words or like random letters. It looks like actual words from afar.
Interesting.
So when I did my thesis, I wouldn't always have the writing ready, but I would have the illustration and the layout ready for my thesis. So when I would submit an assignment, I would put down lorem ipsums in paragraphs. So when people do like magazine design or publishing design, that's just a really common thing people have, and it just makes it look more authentic.
Cool.
But sometimes, you know, but for something like that, like for a beer label, I didn't want to just do lorem ipsum since there's like besides the government warning, there's not going to be a whole lot of like actual paragraphs on there. So, but it was really nice that they liked that at least.
Oh yeah.
And I put a barcode on there. I think I put a barcode for like Oreos or something. Like it was just I just took a random barcode. But I made it look real. And I wanted them
you took
to
it seriously.
Well, I wanted them to take it seriously because they weren't going to hire a graphic designer to translate my illustration. And I think that's a really important thing to do, and that's why I call myself an illustrator and a designer, is because I think a really important thing about making yourself marketable and making yourself being able to be hired by clients is making yourself apply your illustrations to an actual product. And that's the biggest thing. I think that's what makes you, there's a fine artist, which you can make a really nice picture, and then there's an illustrator who can make it into a product. And that's where you get, that's where the chromer comes in. So
look at that.
Yeah.
And you got that experience being at school.
Yes.
Which is such a rad opportunity.
I did. And I got that from UArts. And Moore was awesome. And I think one of the things I loved about Moore was that by my senior thesis, they pretty much just said, you do what you got to do. And they let me do it. And by the end, I had a whole, a whole little song and dance for my thesis. And so I loved, yeah, literally.
Sorry,
Yeah, and so I liked that. I do wish that there was more design focus, in the core classes and obviously business,
right?
Because I think if you don't have those two things, it unfortunately doesn't matter how good you are at drawing. Yeah.
Speaking of drawing,
yeah.
Now that we're already talking about it, let's get into your process. Why don't we?
Yeah.
We've talked about your real world experience with Dock Street, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And you have plenty of other projects that you've worked on. But before we do specifics on that, I would love to hear what it is you do as an illustrator from a technical standpoint.
Yeah.
Teach me how it works.
Awesome. Yeah, of course. So, My process, there's a word that we coined back in school, that I learned from a professor. Shout out to Kevin Mercer. I still run into him every now and then when I'm at Hem Museum. But he coined the term tradigital.
Okay, cool.
Or at least I got it from him.
Right.
Which is it's a mix of traditional art and digital art. So that is, traditional art is obviously hands-on, pen to paper, physical art. Digital is all stuff that's, done on the computer, drawing, tablet, all that. So mine is a mix of those things. And not every tradigital artist does the same kind of process. Personally, I start at traditional and then I go digital. Some people go the opposite way. Some people go on and off. It's different for everyone. But personally, what I do is, I learned a lot from comic artists because I used to do a lot of comic art in my first 2 years. And so that made me, I picked up a lot of skills from comic artists, specifically like using non-photo blue pencils. All of my stuff starts off on smooth Bristol, preferably smooth. I can do vellum, but I feel like what I'm like, I think the paper is important, so that it prevents you from fighting it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you have like a vellum, which to those who don't know what that means, Bristol is just a standard drawing paper. Vellum will gives you a tooth, which means it has grooves in the paper, and so you have a tooth in the paper, which means that when you make a stuff, you're messing with that texture, which I find that if you're doing lines, that's a sharp object going like skittering across stuff. You're very much fighting the paper when you have anything with like tooth or vellum or anything like that. So I do smooth. A lot of comic artists use smooth. A lot of people who do inking work traditionally use smooth. Non-photo blue pencil. The reason I use non-photo blue is because I do my sketch all underneath. I ink everything all on top, and then I don't have to do the whole elbow grease of erasing everything underneath. So non-photo blue is technically cyan. It's actually a cyan pencil. And if you scan it in, which I manually scan in all my stuff, I have a scanner at home. I scan everything into my computer, and then when it scans through, it'll either automatically disappear, depending on what software you use to scan, and then whatever else I get rid of with Photoshop. You can manually use Photoshop to get rid of the all of like your cyan. So I don't have to do any of the work of manually erasing the pencil. I can just Photoshop it out, and then I have a nice clean line on top.
Dang.
Yeah. And then for my line, what I use is, for my line, I use a Croquill ink nib. I use India ink. I just use like ye old metal nib, kind of stuff they use for the for the Declaration kind of deal.
Our forefathers.
Our forefathers. Yeah.
Right here in Philadelphia.
Yeah. Well, I wonder what they would think. They'd probably
Signing
be like,
with a metal nib.
They'd be like, why is that woman wearing pants?
One of many of their thoughts, I'm sure. Yes.
They're like, that's a weird looking kitchen.
Oh my god.
But yeah. So I use Croquill nib. I use India ink, and I just go for it. And I'm very reliant on the digital half of it, because once I have that all said and done, I scan it in. I let the ink dry for 30 seconds or until I get tired of waiting. I scan it in, I clean it up, I color it, and then it's done. I usually like to lay it out. I'll try and layer it on top of other illustrations, like other little drawings I do. And then depending on what it is I'm making, I'm done. And that can take it really depends on how long it takes. I think on average.
Project to project.
Yeah, I think like my average illustration can take anywhere between like 6 to 10 hours.
Wow.
I think, but it's more or less, it just depends on how complicated it is. I can usually knock it out within 1 to 2 days. So that's like 6 to 10 hours on if I counted them all up.
Right.
But honestly, I usually don't keep track of how long it really takes for me to make an illustration.
For sure.
Yeah, and then for I also do pixel art. I used to use Photoshop for that, and Photoshop is still really great for that. But I've been leaning more towards Sprite lately, just because I find that they're it's just a lot more like malleable to work with.
Shout out Sprite.
Yeah.
Wow. Pixel art. That's cool. What do you do with that specifically? Like, is there a reason why you also find joy in pixel artwork?
No, I mean, pretty much you pretty much hit it on the nail when you said find joy.
It's just fun.
It's just
okay,
fun.
rad. Yeah.
Yeah, I do it for
Awesome.
fun. And also I think just people were very receptive to that. People
Right,
when
yeah.
I usually use pixel art. I use pixel art a lot for fan art.
Right. Of course.
And then I use I mean, obviously nothing's set in stone. I don't just strictly do one or the other. But
Yeah.
I found that more often I would find that my my client illustrations, my professional freelance illustrations are mostly the ink.
Cool.
And then my fun stuff, my little funsy stuff is all done in the pixel art because it takes me so much less time. That stuff can take 1 to 3 hours.
How long do you think it took for you to feel confidence with a style? Like a style that you could claim as your own? Like one that is recognizable, one that people are looking for when they commission you?
I think, it's, I want to say it took a while, but I feel like I found my quote unquote style maybe 2 years into college.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, there's still hints of it you can see in some of my really early work, like when I was a freshman and sophomore.
Right.
I'm really known for my hatching, which if you guys don't know what hatching is, it's
Me as guys.
yeah.
Guys don't know.
Hatching. So it just means if you ever look at my illustrations and you inspect them, you'll see that I'm doing a lot of really quick lines everywhere, short little patchy lines to shade everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's hatching.
Okay.
Cross hatching is when you do that and then you go over in the opposite direction, so it's they kind of look like hashtags. I just do hatching most of the time. And that's just a technique that I used. I think for me it was mostly a matter of utility and speed. That's
Okay.
kind of how I got the style that I have. And also a lot of inspiration just from making comics a lot, because I used to make comics a lot in my first 2 years, and then in my second 2 years it was more career focused. I mean, comics are career focused, but I meant
Which is not for you.
yeah, but more I'm trying to do product stuff. I was trying to do publishing illustration,
for sure,
and, you know
for
what I mean,
sure, yeah.
zines, and make things look like it was a product. So I was straying less and less from making things like panels,
Okay.
and making more this looks like a book cover. This looks
I see.
like a package. This looks because I was leaning more towards that. And then for my thesis, I knew that I needed to do something quick, repetitive, consistent, and something that
Reliable.
yeah,
Yeah.
I ended up finding a really nice flow state. That process of using the blue pencil, the ink on top, you color it. I think the coloring is maybe the shortest step, and in constructing the whole thing, just because I can usually just find a color palette, make it work, and then use a hue shift slider to figure out, okay, well, maybe I want to change this. Bam, now it's done.
Oh, wow.
And then when it comes to line, because that's technically the longest part, but eventually you reach such a flow state, you're kind of just tune everything out, and it's weird. It's people ask me how I do that. The answer is that I black out and I wake up and it's there.
It's done.
So something happened, I don't know
Wow.
what that was. But yeah, it just
lock it
something
in.
just takes over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
But
No, it makes sense though. I mean, it becomes like a second nature.
it is. It really
Yeah.
is a second nature. And when you hit a flow state, I just I'll put something on a podcast or something.
Yeah.
Maybe this podcast.
Whoa.
Whoa. And I'll listen to it while I draw. But the fact of the matter is that all of the I draw things shrouded in shadow. I use very heavy black.
Yes, you do.
I use a ton of hatching. I use a ton of texture. I use raw materials. By raw materials, I just mean using a messy crow quill pen. I use
For sure.
metal on paper. I use drippy ink. That was just an adaptive thing that I did because I'm a messy drawer. Drawer. I hate that word.
Drawer.
I know, I hate that word, and I use that word anyways. Drawer. Yeah, I'm so great at holding your socks for you. That's people. I used to hear that all the time. It's you're a good drawer. I'm like, thanks. I'm from
Thanks.
IKEA.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Had the manual and everything.
Yeah.
And the Allen wrench.
Exactly. Yeah.
Little Allen wrench.
But yeah, I have very messy lines.
Mm-hmm.
When I was young, I knew that for illustrators, it was very important to go fast. And so When I was young, I would draw really fast, but that didn't necessarily mean that I was doing it really like all that well. It just meant
Okay.
that I was doing things really fast.
Huh.
So it was fast and it was kind of sloppy and it was choppy, but I was doing it fast. And so I kept doing it fast over and over and over and over and over again, until I was eventually being half good at it really
Wow.
fast. So I do love that style of doing like, it's not entirely utilitarian when I draw like that. But it does a lot of lifting for me because if you do take the time to inspect my work, you'll see imperfections in the lines. You'll see wobbly lines. I Photoshop them out, but when I scan something in, you'll see smears and ink blotches everywhere because I'm impatient and I'm left-handed. And so my hand will smear the ink, and I'll have like ink droplets on stuff because I overloaded my nib and I shook it or something, or I moved my hand too quickly, and now there's a little blot on my page. You don't see those things because I edit them out. But even like my messy lines, when I do like a final line for like a character or like an environment, everything is squiggly, everything is messy, nothing looks perfect. But you don't really notice that unless you inspect it closely because it's all shrouded underneath the hatching and then solid color, like all the coloring underneath and like the watercolor textures and the paper textures I put on top, the design, the type, the actual subject. There's so much going on that like this like symphony of visuals that you don't even notice how flawed it is, how like imperfect it actually is. So for me it was like I like that. I like that it's messy. I like that it's like that.
You could argue that became your style.
Yeah, and I mean it did.
Yeah.
It did, and it was born from like from utility, from me being like, okay, we have to
Efficiency.
you have to be efficient, but because I wasn't doing it efficiently and perfectly, I decided to just lean into that.
Wow. And
yeah.
that must also still now come in handy with client work, right?
Really
because now
handy.
you're applying that speed, that business mind that you had even when you were younger, to actual real world jobs.
Yeah. And it was kind of crazy because I as I'm developing I am a freelance illustrator. I am in the industry, but I'm still like a little baby new gen. You know what I mean? So there's still things that I'm learning, and one of the things that I'm learning that was told to me a trillion times, but I just never picked it up really. Like you don't realize it until you're actually living it. And you're like, oh wow, they were right. Was professors and everyone telling me, be yourself, be yourself, be yourself. Do your art. Do what makes you happy. And people will respond to that. People will want you for you. And I had a hard time believing it because all the popular illustrators that I was seeing at the time, they did have their own style, but their own style wasn't necessarily what I was doing.
Right.
I've seen people get like crazy popular and crazy famous and crazy rich off of like doing cutesy stuff and doing clean and cutesy artwork. And people love that. I love that. You know what I mean? Even though I don't draw that, I love that stuff.
Love it as a consumer.
I do. I'm like, oh, give me more cake, please. I'm so hungry. Give me more little, draw little cats holding a cheeseburger or something. I don't even know.
Right.
What do people draw nowadays? I don't know.
Definitely that. I've seen a lot of that.
But, and so I had this, when I was in college, I had this pressure to be like, man, I gotta do that now because that's what the people want.
Right.
But I think as soon as I kind of let go of that, people were just, I was having, commissions, people commission me and they're like, I asked them like, do you want it, like, what kind of way do you want this? And they would just tell me, they're like, I just want you to do you.
Wow.
I've had like clients just say, I like the way you draw this already. Just do it the way you would do it because that's what I want. I'm in a couple like fan community projects, like fan games and stuff.
Yeah.
And I make some of the like the promo art for fan games, and I've had people tell me like just do it the way you would normally do it because I like what you are doing when you just do it on yourself. Like people follow me on my social media for art that I make when I'm not being told by someone how to do it, and so they want that. They want the candidness of just do what feels right. Obviously, just make changes as needed, as the client needs.
Right. Yeah.
But I find that that's the best way to get a client is you really do have to be yourself, and like eventually people will pick up on that energy. People will pick up on how authentic you're being than trying to box yourself in and make everything perfect. To any new illustrators or to anyone who wants to break into this industry, I would just say, like, if there's something that you're struggling with, if there's something that is like particularly that you think is necessarily like an ugly mark on your art, maybe try leaning into that, because sometimes leaning into that can really help you. Sometimes leaning into that is what makes makes people like you and makes people want to hire you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of leaning into what makes you you, that kind of work culminates into a senior thesis.
It does.
As a lot of folks that have gone through the gauntlet that is art school, you learn that you're eventually going to work on a project or a showcase that will prove yourself to the school and show off what you've learned over the past few years and be sort of a passion project.
Yeah.
You had one of those as a senior exiting Moore called Fractomorphia.
Fractomorphia, yeah.
Right? Yeah. And it's really, really cool. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Fractomorphia was my senior thesis project. I made it over the course of maybe 8 or 9 months at Moore. I started it pretty much immediately after I finished the Dock Street label. Actually, I think I was doing it while working on the Dock Street label, because I had to do revisions on it when I got chosen, and so I had to like work on that while working on Fractomorphia. Fractomorphia is a 32-page, I guess it's like a guide. It's a piece of unfiction. Unfiction, if anyone doesn't know, is it's a type of fiction that pretends to be a product or something that is real, or something that exists in real life that doesn't.
Fiction trying to be nonfiction.
Yes, exactly. And I think a better way to describe that is that I am certainly not the first person to do this.
Yeah.
This is very popular. It's a very niche audience for the people who kind of who enjoy doing this. Unfiction. I think an example would be creating secondary media for primary forms of media that do not exist. So I like to bring up Mystery Flesh Pit as an example, because I think it's a good example. Mystery Flesh Pit is like an ARG series that came out a couple years back about a like an eldritch horror type of national park.
Whoa. Sick.
It's a Mystery Flesh Pit.
Oh.
So yeah, but the way that Mystery Flesh Pit did its storytelling was that it was all done through documentation of like journals of people who initially discovered it.
Oh, right.
Posters, promotional posters, employee like training guides, maps of the place, like things like products that people used.
Like found footage.
Yes,
type stuff.
It's very much found footage. So like even though there's nothing that actually directly tells you what that narrative is, you only have to figure it out just through piecing together what you learn from that secondary media, from those journals and documents and posters and whatnot.
Right. Cool.
So Fractomorphia is a game guide for a video game that does not exist. I love video games. I play them all the time.
Yeah.
I don't consider myself a game artist. I didn't really want to go into game art.
Right.
It was really complicated. I wouldn't be opposed to doing it maybe someday, but I knew that for my thesis I wanted to do publishing. But I love video games, and I love old design. So stuff for like those really old game guides that you would get in like the
like an NES.
Yes, especially like Nintendo Magazine and like old
Nintendo Power.
Yes. Stuff like that. Where people, video games in like the 90s and the 2000s, for like video games, they were incredibly difficult, and 9 times out of 10 you needed to have some sort of like literature with that came with the game to help you figure out, oh, this is what's going on and here's how I do this.
Yeah. Little secrets.
Secrets and yeah. So I wanted to do something like that for like a little point and click computer game.
That's awesome.
And I wanted to, Fractomorphia, I think I would like to come back to it someday, and maybe continue working on it to add some more depth to it, more direction to it, because at the time I think I knew I needed to make something. I needed to get something out. And I just wanted to use something to talk about as many things as I felt like I needed to talk about within that period of time for a little 32-page thing.
For sure.
So that included making it look somewhat like a real product, making the book look like a real product, making it seem like it was a real game in some regards. And then I also wanted to just talk about the themes that I wanted to talk about, that I felt like, if this is my only chance to have a voice and have a spotlight, this is what I want to say. And so that mattered to me, especially, and I think the context of when I made it was really important as well. Fractomorphia officially is about a point-and-click computer game, and the computer game is about this woman who lives in the distant future of Philadelphia of 2025.
Whoa.
Because I designed it to look like it to be like an old computer game, I wanted it to seem like 2025, which is the year that I made it, to seem like the distant future.
Right.
It's meant to be very dark and dingy, very cyberpunk, a world where, people don't make a lot of money, and the best ways to make money are through, unethical means. And so I wanted to make a story about a woman who spends most of her time physically plugged into her computer, and physically plugged into this virtual world, this internet, where she works as basically like a person who steals data, personal information from others for money. So I wanted to talk about things like, making money, but also serving the machine, and also serving things that hurt, you're causing harm to others, even if it's indirect,
Right.
The protagonist might not necessarily be like directly hurting people, but she's still stealing data and personal information. That's still bad.
Yeah.
She
Not great.
drowns herself into her work. A lot of themes of loneliness. You're holed up in your apartment all day. The only light is from your computer monitor, and you are just either working or playing, and you don't go outside, and you don't interact with real humans. And if you do, you don't want to. The type of people out there, are, they're just as desperate as you are.
Yeah.
And so I wanted the game to be about, that, but also what life would look like if you spent most of your time jacked into a virtual world, and then what that virtual world might look like if you're going into the dark corners of the net to find stuff like this. What would that look like? Because it's not polished. It's not meant to be like a corporate setting of, here's a clean little playground for you and your little avatar to roam in. This is dark. This is dingy. This is broken.
Yeah. You're not supposed to be here.
You're not supposed to be here. So I wanted to play around with that. And also play around with like the visuals, like, the fact that your character constantly has a plug going into her head, the fact that she is neglecting her physical body and neglects her physical organic brain in favor of the circuits that have been put in her skull. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Showing the effects of constant technology, but in a more emphasized, a more exaggerated, like visual way.
Yeah, just
that's poignant.
The constant being plugged in. Every time you see this this woman, she almost always has a jack in her head.
Right.
And it's this really long cord. I wanted to play with that.
Yeah.
I also wanted to play with the idea, like, in a cyberpunk setting, there's a lot of idealization.
The video game cyberpunk, yeah.
Yes, but also just cyberpunk as a genre. I just noticed that a lot, there's like the idealization of like the people and the bodies and everything.
Right.
I wanted someone who, isn't necessarily chopped, but like, I wanted her to be kind of realistic, especially for the kind of life that she lives.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Relatable.
Yeah, relatable. I think, I didn't really plan, like, people make jokes all the time that this character looks like me, and they're not far off.
Yeah.
I
can see it.
I didn't really plan on that happening, but I knew that, like, if I was going to make a character, I kind of expected at some point in my thesis that I would end up making a character that kind of looked like me. That's just something that ends up happening. I tend to just make things in my image, and I got to a point where I'm just tired of fighting it, You know, if this is what's going to happen, I may as well just see where that goes. And so I ended up creating an archetype of me, but also people like me.
Right.
The protagonist's name is Mina, which is short for Vermina. I think in a one of the crits that I did for senior thesis, somebody said that like her body type or like the pose that she was doing plus like the strands of her hair made her look like a cockroach. And I kind of leaned into that because I think this character would think of herself as a cockroach. And that's why I called her Vermina. She's vermin.
Right. Yeah. Clever.
She hides in the dark. You know, she skitters around the city. She, you know, like, she does illegal things. She, you know, sinks all of her money into hardware and technology that will sink her further away from her humanity.
And lives through it despite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I wanted to lean into that of you know, how it feels to feel like you are vermin.
Wow.
Mina is, the best way to describe it is, you know, because people make jokes, right? Like, oh, like, someone said, one of my friends, I can't remember who said this, but they're like, Mina was like if Hadley asked if that was you, and she said, me? Nah. And I was like, and like, low key, I'm like, yeah, kind of. I think she's me if I never got better.
Oh, like the worst version of yourself?
Yeah, she's me if I got worse. And I didn't go outside, and I just never, you know.
Leaned into habits.
Yeah, so yeah. I think, like, and I think there's a lot of people who connect to that. There's a lot of people, you know, and
like what you were talking about with struggling to be part of a community, like join something new and
absolutely
be scared of the outside instead of taking the leap that you did. This is a character that ultimately gave into their fear.
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what can happen. Like, you know, I've seen it happen with people. I try not to live in the way of like, well, it could always be worse, or like, look at that person has it worse.
Yeah.
If there's anyone out there who does need that kind of outlet in their life, I hope Mina does that for you. Like, I hope people look at her and they're like, let's not do that. Let's do it better.
Right. Sort of like a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a
vice.
Kinda like seeing something so opposite of what you want your life to be that it motivates you to be not that.
A little bit of confession. So I live in a micro studio apartment, which means that my square footage is 175 square feet.
It's tiny.
That's tiny. If you understand square footage, that just means I live in a 10 by 10 foot room. But that's cool because that means it takes me like literally half a second to clean the whole thing. But of course, I work a lot. I have a day job, and then I also work freelance. So, like, I get busy. And so sometimes if I need, like, the motivation to clean my room, this is so embarrassing. I will look up, like, videos of people, like, going down rabbit holes of, like, 4chan bedrooms. Of, like, people who, like, live in just complete filth, and they just never clean their room in years. And or like hoarding videos of hoarders, and I'm like, oh my god, I need to clean this now.
Fascinating.
You know, and that like that lights a fire under me. I'm like, okay, I gotta go.
And
like,
a subconscious motivation for the project.
It is.
Yeah,
it absolutely is. And that's why I do that. Like, you know, because there are people who live like that, and it's sad. And and that's why I say it. Like, I hope Mina becomes that vice, because I feel bad looking at, because those are real people's lives.
Yeah.
And I don't want to look at that. Because I don't want that to exist, because I want those people to flourish.
Right.
So if anything, do it on this fictional little lady that I made.
And you hope to go back to the project in some form.
Yes.
Would that be ever a real video game? I know that you don't technically have the programming ability, not to say that you couldn't learn. Would you ever want to like collaborate and make this an actual game, or would you just add to the guide itself, really deep dive into the world? Well, what is the ideal for Fractomorpheus feature?
I think I would start with working on the guide.
Awesome.
I think I want to make it feel more like an actual product. I think unfortunately the writing, I'm not a writer. I don't call myself a
I see,
writer.
yeah.
I write for funsies. I just wrote because I needed to have a narrative with my thing.
Of course.
And so I put some of my own writing in there just because I wanted to, because I didn't want to have Lorem Ipsum as the final.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, and I certainly wasn't going to use AI. So I just put my own stuff in there. I put my own narrative in there because that way when people look at the illustration, they're like, what's this about? Oh, okay, that's what it's about.
Would you ever want it to have a physical release? Or is the digital aspect what you want from it?
I actually do have physical copies.
Oh.
You
had for your
for my thesis.
For the presentation.
Yeah, for the presentation,
Gotcha.
I have a few physical copies. There is a digital release. Maybe one day I will go back and make more physical copies because I did get those local to Philadelphia.
Cool.
I actually got those booklets from Firebird.
Shout out Firebird.
Yeah, in Kensington. Really awesome people. Super, super nice. I actually ordered like a pack of like 10 and they gave me like 20.
Oh, cool.
So, like for no extra charge. They were awesome people. And they're really, really high quality, really nice booklets. So they were great. I think it being a physical booklet, I think gives it more punch.
Yeah.
So maybe one day I'll do an updated version. I would like to introduce more actual game elements to make it feel more, because I did a lot of illustrations and that's cool.
Yeah.
I would like to make it feel more believable, like it's almost like you're taking a screenshot of an actual computer screen.
Stills from the game.
Yeah.
Cheat codes, that kind of thing.
Items, stuff like that.
That's exciting.
To answer your question about it being an actual product, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Obviously, I have no experience with making a game. In terms of like programming experience, like I just play with computers. I don't actually know anything about, But if I kept developing the project and people were really receptive to it, and someone did come up to me and was like, "Hey, I want to make this into a thing."
Right, collaboration. Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't stop them.
Awesome.
Like as long as but let's exchange emails. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Because now I want to know about this. Like, what's going on?
Cool.
Yeah. So I think for the reason why I do illustration, is to I want to spark empathy with people. The point of Fractomorphia is to spark empathy in yourself. Most importantly, you don't necessarily have to feel empathy for Mina, but I hope that seeing her will inspire readers to have empathy and love for themselves. One of the things that I do want to pay more attention to as an actual game product, to make it feel believable, was Fractomorphia had multiple endings. And it depended on how you treated Mina as a character,
cool.
and her relationships with some of the other characters that she would be interacting with.
Yeah, moral choices.
And there are good and bad endings.
Yeah.
I think the good ending, or whatever that would be, the true ending would be, that I included in my thesis, like in the final pages, was her leaving. She left her apartment.
Freeing herself, yeah.
She unplugged herself. She left, and she goes to find her friend for help. In person. She goes to find an online friend to go and meet them, and it's kind of open-ended in whether or not that actually solves her problem, or whether the person is actually real, or you know what I mean. But it doesn't matter.
But she took the step.
But she's going out, and that means that now your options are no longer as limited to the interior of your apartment. The worst ending, in my opinion, would be the one where the condition that she accumulates over the course of the narrative of the game. It's called Fractomorphia because it's, you're fracturing your form. You have your physical body, your human body, you have your digital avatar body, and then you're confronted with this conflict, this illness that acts as both a computer virus but also like a biological virus. It's both. It transforms your body, but it also transforms your mind and your digital soul. So, that's why I call it Fractomorphia, fractured form.
There it is.
But but in the worst ending, you just succumb to it. You don't get help. No one helps you. No one cares to help you because they don't know you. And so it ends with her turning into this amalgamation of flesh and parts.
Tragedy.
And just rotting in her apartment forever.
A tragedy of mental health.
Yeah. And that happens, and that sucks.
Yeah,
it happens to people. So
it's a real...
that's what I wanted to say, was to have that empathy of care, care about yourself.
Wow. That's beautiful, Hadley.
Yeah, well, I
It's
try.
horrifying. Absolutely horrifying.
I try to communicate beauty through horrifying things because I think there's a lot of beauty to be found in that.
There it is.
You know?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly agree. Well, go check out Fractomorphia. It's on your social media.
Yes.
Yes. And anywhere you find Hadley's art, go check it out and stay tuned for whatever comes next with it.
Yep. It's completely free to read on my link tree, so I have that.
Free.
Yeah.
We love free. I mean, obviously, we want to pay you because. So commission Hadley also.
Yeah, I might sell physical because I still have physical copies of Fractomorphia.
Ooh,
I might
yeah.
be able to sell them.
You should.
Yeah.
You absolutely should.
Yeah.
I'm sure people would buy them. I would buy them. I would absolutely. I love the project. It's great.
Yeah.
I have another question.
Yeah.
Regarding some of your recent work. Earlier in this interview, you had used a word that I don't think anyone picked up on except for myself or specific avid listeners of the podcast. You know who you are. You used the term chromer.
Oh no.
The chromer being a reference to currency in a video game that we both have played. Well, it's referring to currency spoken by only one character in the franchise.
One and only.
The one and only. You mentioned that you do a lot of fan artwork,
Yes.
especially with commissions. And recently, I think you've garnered some notoriety for your fan art of a character called Spamton G. Spamton, a original character from the video game Deltarune by Toby Fox, a spiritual successor to the game Undertale, which I'm sure more are familiar with. A phenomenal game, and a little weirdo character. And over the past multiple months, your social media, your Tumblr and your Instagram, anywhere that you're present, has just been flooded.
It's like a virus, honestly. Yeah.
By this character.
Yeah.
And I think I wanted to talk about it a little bit and ask why.
Why?
You know, why do you gravitate towards, this kind of character, or rather a character that becomes such an inspiration and or motivation for your art making?
Yeah.
And how, in your mind, is fan art credible in the art world right now? And where do you see that living as an avenue for artists to make a living and share their artistry?
Yeah. I it's funny. I just never I never thought that Spamton would be a part of the career conversation. And that's it's okay. I'm totally down to talk about it.
Yeah.
But hearing it out loud makes me realize yeah, that's what I do. That I really did do that. And I still do that. To answer your first question, why? I think when I first graduated college, I was fresh out. I wasn't making enough to support myself. I currently work 2-day jobs, and I'm doing quite well for myself.
Yeah.
And then on top of the freelance stuff, I'm fine. I am chipper as a chickadee. But I think when I first started out, I was on shaky wobble ground. I was running on savings. Just until I found something that was gonna keep me afloat.
For sure.
I think that was around the same time that Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4 came out.
Right.
Which Deltarune releases in chapters. It's not complete yet.
No, not even close.
I believe there's 7 chapters
to
come out. And so when Chapter 3 and 4 came out, it was definitely a really nice vice for, it just made me happy playing it. It's just it's an incredible project. I think it's one of the greatest things I've ever touched, and I'm sure a lot of people could say the same. I think my gravitation towards Spamton was the I think was the relatability of the character. And I think a lot of people agree. Obviously he's an archetype, he's just this gross little guy, you know what I mean?
He's a gross little guy who is an embodiment of spam emails.
Mail, yeah.
Spam mail.
Yeah.
Online. And so he's tiny and a little crazy.
He's a little crazy.
And like forcing like ads and in down the player's throat.
Yeah. Anything for money, which he calls Cromer.
Right.
Yeah, he loves money. He loves Cromer. I saw a little bit of myself in that at the time. I'm starting off at the bottom. You're at the bottom. You work in service. And especially when you work in service, like I'm serving. I've served like some really rich people, and so it really is a reminder of your place in the world. And it reminds you of, you're chasing the money so much to make it to be comfortable and especially right now in America's economy, like everyone's dealing with this right now. Everyone's dealing with a horrible job market. Everyone's, even people who are getting salary jobs are getting little to no benefits. It's a nightmare out here. And then with AI being an artist, it's even worse.
Exactly.
So, having, I do feel like a little guy. A lot of people feel like a little guy.
Like a small, desperate
little guy.
Yeah.
Spamton has horrible luck.
Yes.
And that, I like to, I think some people also like to use that as a vice of like, he can just take all my bad luck. And
yeah.
I do that. And,
like siphoning your bad luck into a character.
Yes. Absolutely. I think people do that a lot. I find
Yeah.
myself doing that a lot of like, you just, you know what? You go in the meat grinder. And so there was definitely a time where I felt, I feel like this less often just because I can see myself making progress.
Yeah.
But, feeling like you're just a little guy and you're scrounging around. Also, the idea of like, the concept of living in a dumpster. Like,
right.
Spamton is so broke he lives in a dumpster. Like, he doesn't, he just scrounges around for, like, the next coin.
Right.
He sells garbage to the player, Like, it's funny, that someone who's, like, just so, like, gnarly looking.
Yeah.
He's, like, ugly in a cute way. Like, to me, I really liked that. Like, he's such an interesting character design. He's so chopped, but, like, chopped in, like in a weird, like, little rodent hamster way. It's just, like, to me, it's just funny. I just found it funny and cute.
I think you have a fascination with vermin.
I do! You're cooking. You're onto something.
It's a character similar to Vermina. I
It
feel
is.
These characters that are embodiments of habit, addiction,
Yeah.
struggle.
Yeah.
The worst aspects of the human experience.
Yeah.
Put into a very exaggerated, disturbing form.
Yes. No, exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people relate to that, that feeling of feeling like you're on the bottom. Because I think the thing about Spamton is that he wants to be a big shot.
Yeah, he has motivation. Right.
His motivation, he, like, no matter what, he is constantly fighting what appears to be a predetermined role for him in society, which is at the bottom. And so I feel like tons of people can relate to that, especially other illustrators who are fighting this AI machine, who are fighting the corporate machine, who are fighting this world that we're living in.
And so you find yourself drawing him a lot.
A lot. And so when I took on a second day job, I was working a lot. At the time, I didn't have commissions open, so I wasn't doing a whole lot of freelance projects. So I was working like crazy, especially during like an uptick in like the busy months during the time. Because they definitely, like, I drew him the most, I want to say, like, in September, October.
Right.
I still draw him, of course, but I definitely had an uptick in those months. And I was, the way I saw it was, drawing this little guy gives me enough motivation to draw.
Yeah. When
I'm working 2 jobs, and I'm working double shifts at the wazoo. It doesn't matter if it's the middle of the night, or the middle of the day, or the middle of the morning or afternoon. Drawing a little sprite of Spamton is so much shorter and faster and more efficient than making a full-fledged illustration. And I wanted to post something. I wanted to do something that was honing my craft.
Yeah.
And also something that it just made me happy.
Right.
To draw him and just draw stuff like that. So I just started posting it. And then over time, people started to really gravitate towards that. And I think it's because I drew him very on model. I still have my own, I think, rendition of him, but Spamton is a very, really interesting character design that's actually fluid even in his official art. He doesn't have a very specific like model or character sheet. I noticed that in almost any of the official like game sprites, overworld, shop sprite, and even his official merchandise, he varies in look.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I kind of mess with that a little bit. Like I like
Right.
that.
The imperfections.
The imperfections, because he's an imperfect character, and that means that a lot of artists have their own interpretation of the character too.
Right.
I think mine happens to be like I just ended up going for something very like loyal to his shop sprite, because a part of me wanted to be like I think sometimes people interpret him in different ways to make him look more appealing to the eye, and I kind of just wanted to see what it, put him in these situations of him like, falling asleep with a cup of tea, or like dancing around like an idiot, or like just doing stuff.
Yeah.
But the way he looks normally, and
Not
just
shying away from the distasteful.
it is distasteful. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Design choice. Like
it is
a very clear, decision made by the creator.
Yeah.
And this was your way of honoring that.
Yeah.
And still putting like joy and relatability and like a human nature to something that isn't viewed as human.
Yeah, to something it's literally not human.
Right.
He's literally email. So but like and so I wanted to draw I in my mind I wanted to accept him as he was.
Right.
In all of his choppedness.
And people gravitated
towards that, and I ended up doing come October, there's actually a whole community for people who draw Spamton a lot, and people who like Spamton. Like, it's a huge I'm certainly not the first person to do this.
Of course.
And so every year there's a Spamtober, which is like an art challenge, and it's similar to Inktober.
Yeah, there's plenty of art challenges where every day in October artists make something from like a list, right? It's like
a prompt list.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I think come the end of September, I wasn't sure if the the regular popular list by some like popular people on social media who have been making lists for the past few years. I wasn't sure if they were gonna make one this year. And it was getting close to the end, and I thought to myself, okay, screw it, I'm just gonna make my own.
Yeah.
And so I posted it, and at this point, people already followed me from like my September drawings, and that was really cool because people did prompts from both of them, from both the other creator, and then the one that I made. People were making like Spamtobers from my list and crediting me, and they're like, this is from Hadley's Spamtober prompt list. And then I was making my own, obviously. I did 32 drawings. They were all in like the pixel art style that I did. I did 32. I did an extra one for one of the days.
Right.
And then I posted all of them, and I got a lot of attention for that. People really were receptive to that.
You're cultivating community.
And then, and it just made me laugh because I didn't, if you had told me like 6 months earlier, oh, you're going to be the Spamton girl, I would have been like, oh, brother, just, you know what? Just shut the whole thing down.
Nope, not doing that. But like the concept, I'm curious where your brain is, like getting attention as an artist for a product or like, of art of a character that isn't yours.
Yeah.
That must feel weird.
It
right?
feels really weird.
Right, because, you take something that is pre-existing and, obviously crediting the original creator, but then garnering a fan base of your own through the usage of someone else's work. How do you think that, like, how does that feel to you as an individual artist? And what are the, benefits of that? Because that is a credible way to make a living in the art world right now.
It's hard because when I was in college, this was such a major no-no. Like, this was...
Right, okay.
I mean, it wasn't outwardly so, but I think there was definitely a culture of, like...
it was steered away from.
Yeah, do your own thing, man. And so when I was in college, I almost never did fan art unless that was specifically pertaining to the nature of the assignment.
Right.
Where you had to do something based on like an actual existing property. So I stayed away from it. It was, at least in school, it was considered very lowbrow to make fan art for like official projects because when you're in commercial art, like illustration and communication arts, it's you have to abide by copyright law. Like,
right, of course.
And I think some people don't realize this, but fan art is actually copyright infringement. Like, it's not fair use.
Weird.
It's not fair use.
So you can't sell it. Can you?
So you can. So the thing is, the thing about copyright is that technically when you make fan art and you do sell it, when you make fan art in general, it is copyright infringement. When you're selling it, it's copyright infringement. The thing is that most people just don't care. But to be honest, if you made something that got really popular,
yeah,
and people who love this thing that you make and they are beloved about it, draw pictures of it, and even if they sell stuff, like, I mean, if you get really popular, you're probably making a lot more money than that person selling little keychains.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
If you like, why would you want to send your fan who loves your thing a cease and desist?
Yeah.
So it's really common for big corporations to do that. You will see Disney and Nintendo like cracking the whip all the time.
For sure.
I actually have a lot of respect. I really want to respect specifically the types of like merchandising rules specifically for Toby Fox, because there's an actual guideline for that.
Right. Yes.
You cannot make plushies of like Deltarune characters, like mass-produced, machine-made. It's okay to do private commissions that are handmade for plushie specifically, as long as they're not mass-produced and they're not made by machines. Keychains are fine. People sell keychains of like Undertale Deltarune characters and like small little items like that. That's totally fine. And Toby Fox and his legal team like made that specific. So if I ever do make something like that, obviously I will always follow those guidelines.
Yeah. Because it allows for the community to still engage.
It does. And so people
and to make a living.
Yeah, and it's like, so people usually don't do that. So technically it is breaking the law. Like, but the thing is, you don't want to hurt your fans.
Yeah.
And also, a lot of the time, there's usually not a financial disadvantage.
Right.
Another realm of this is the entire concept of doing Let's Play videos for video games.
Oh, wow.
When those first came out on YouTube, on the internet, it was a big discussion of, does this actually hurt the market of video games? Because now people know how the game ends, people know how this game is played.
You don't have to play it yourself.
And so there was that initial question of like, are video game companies going to be cracking down on these? But what ended up happening was the opposite, and now YouTubers get early access.
Mm-hmm. True.
At the time of recording, Resident Evil 9 just came out.
Yeah. A franchise that you enjoy. Yeah.
I do love that. I'm actually going to buy it today.
Yay.
But there's a lot of YouTubers that I already see who are beyond like pre-buying it. There's people who are given pre-releases of the game because they want these massive game companies are telling these YouTubers who have mass followings, they're like, play the game, give us a walkthrough, or give us a review of the game before, like, a week or a couple weeks before it even comes out to the public.
Interesting. To
tell people what they think about the game, good or bad, because it's literally like, it's basically free advertising for those games. So when people do, so that's what I'm saying, is like, technically it is copyright infringement, but nobody cares because it's beneficial. And if it isn't beneficial, it's just nice. It's just nice to do. If someone ever made like fan art of anything that I make, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Like, for the most part, I guess it would be situational, but I can't really see myself getting like, all hot and bothered about, you drew a picture of Mina
because someone was inspired by something you made.
Exactly. And like, to me, so illustration does have the business aspect. There is the copyright, there is all of that, and that's why it was so lowbrow at the time for like in college. That's why I stayed away from it. But for me, it's not just the business aspect of it. And honestly, it hasn't even, like, the concept of doing like Spamton merchandise made by me wasn't actually on my radar. It hasn't really been on my radar.
Right.
Maybe I'll do it, but honestly,
but that's not what it's about.
It's not what it's about. And when I started drawing Spamton and when I started getting attention for it, it reminded me of why I do this. And I don't do any of this. I mean, yes, for the money. I mean, I got a degree. I got to pay off those loans somehow. But it was mostly for the human connection. And that's another theme that I explored in Fractomorphia about human connection. those are other people. People contact me and people message me and they say, like, I love your art and I love that I'm able to, like, this has made me happy in some of the darkest times of my life. That's why I do illustration, is because I think growing up, I was a little bit socially underdeveloped. I am on the spectrum, and so that had a few pullbacks socially to how you connect with people. It can sometimes damage the ability to connect with people properly because it means that you're, at least in my case, it was more difficult for me to communicate.
Right.
I felt like illustration is my best way of communicating with others and connecting with others, in a way that makes sense to me. When people see my fan art, I'm connecting with them, and that's what matters to me. And when they read Fractomorphia and they see the kind of things, the kind of subjects that I touch on, I want to connect to them. You know, this isn't the sole reason I became an illustrator. But ever since this happened, I think about it almost every time I pick up the pen. When I was a child, I attended Ore Valley Elementary in York County. This is around maybe 2008, 9, maybe 10, probably 8 or 9. I was maybe like 6 or 7 years old. Fern put the sound effect.
Pause for laughter.
And at the time, you know, when you're a kid, you go to assemblies and like people come over. There was a book that came out around the time called Wolf's Coming, and I loved that story. It was such a beautifully illustrated and written book, and the book was about all of like the little fantasy creatures and like the farm animals are all the forest animals are all hiding because Wolf's coming. Everyone get inside, Wolf's coming, right? And in fairy tales, it's the big bad wolf, right? It's the wolf, and it shows, like, the entire story shows them all preparing and hiding in their homes. And Wolf comes to the door of, like, the home that everyone's hiding in. And when he finally opens the door and enters through, the lights turn on, and it's a birthday party.
Aww.
And that's, like, it's supposed to be, like, a, you know, like a bait and switch of, like...
A subversion.
It's subversion, yeah. So, but it's also meant to be, like, don't judge a book by its cover.
Right.
You know?
Of course.
Wolf was their friend. It's his birthday party. It's a surprise party.
Lovely.
And so I loved that book, right? And I loved how, the setup for it was beautiful. The illustrations are incredible. Just that beautiful, dark and moody atmosphere that inspired me a lot. When that book came out, my school had had the author and illustrator come to speak. For reference, well, I think maybe I'll reveal that at the end. But if you know Wolf's Coming, then you know what I'm talking about now. The illustrator and the author came, and he showed us his sketches, all of his work, all of his everything. And I believe it was at that assembly that he asked the question, what is an illustrator? And I did not answer this question. I was not the one who said this. I was not the little smarty pants kid who said this, but I envy the smarty pants kid who did say this.
Yeah.
Because he pointed to a kid in the crowd, and one of the kids said, "It's the person who It's the person who writes the pictures." And that's what you're doing. Is you're writing the pictures. You're doing the narrative, with images. Is specifically a narrative, and that's why it's called communication arts. You are communicating something with your art.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, fine art does that as well, but,
for sure.
you know,
Yeah.
At least that's how I always interpreted that. I remember being a little kid and seeing all of his sketches and seeing and what he talked about. And this guy was funny. You know, I really liked this guy. And I remember I went home that night and I was thinking about Wolf's Coming and I was thinking about the pictures. And I went to bed and I was still thinking about the pictures. And the next day, I was still thinking about the pictures.
Right.
And I was a kid, right? So I wasn't having that thought in my mind of, I want to do this when I grow up.
For sure.
But I just couldn't get out of my head. The author and illustrator of Wolf's Coming is Joe Kulka, who ended up being my senior thesis professor at Moore College of Art and Design.
Ah, God, that's awesome.
So...
Oh, wow.
There is, I think, a lot of incredible things to come from UArts closing.
Mhm.
Obviously, that was a painful time.
Yeah, but we got to find silver linings.
But I wouldn't have met Joel Kolka, you know, because he was teaching at Moore. And
everything happens for a reason.
I remember being like, in like one of the first weeks of school, like actually talking to him, and I was like, you visited my school when I was a kid. And I watched his face just light up. And he said to me, he's like, I knew this was going to happen someday. I knew this was going to happen. And so like, that sort of thing reminds me of why I do this, you know?
Yeah.
Before I even went to art school, before I even went to college, I went to this, like, this local thing for Creative York, where you do, like, an artist auction for, like, charity, and you have to make a piece of art in an hour, and then someone buys it. And I went to there. I was the only person under 21. I had to wear a little wristband. I was like 16 at the time, and everyone else was like in their 30s and 40s doing like watercolor paintings. And I'm just over here drawing with my markers and stuff. But someone did buy it. Someone did buy the art that I did. They auctioned it, and for like $50 or something.
Hey. 50 for
yeah, for
however old you were. That's 6 or 7.
Wow. Yeah. 16. I was like 16.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to shoot.
But that would have been funny though, if I'm like a little kid. But you know who was 6 or 7 was a little kid who was there.
Oh.
And after I was packed, like I packed all my stuff up, and I was waiting for my dad to pick me up outside the building. I was waiting in the lobby, and I don't know if this is the person who bought it, but it was like a mom and her kid.
Yeah.
And this little girl was holding my drawing, and she was like, she wouldn't stop staring at it. She was mesmerized. And I remember sitting there before I even went to art school, and I was like, it just reminds me of why I do this.
That's the feeling I want to put in a bottle, right? Like
And I love that feeling, and I love being reminded of that. When people message me and people are like, you know, I love your art, I love what you do, I love, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's just reminds me why I do this in the first place. That's
awesome.
Yeah.
That's so beautifully full circle.
Yeah.
Shout out Joe Kolka.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's such a so shockingly like written. Like you can't write, like you can't make that stuff up.
It's just so surreal. Like it really is a small world.
It really is. That's so cool. Shout out Joe Kolka. Go purchase Wolf's Coming. Why don't you?
That's awesome.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Hadley. That's so rad. Wow. And yeah, go buy Hadley's art. go see Hadley's art. Keep that fire going. And if that inspires you, hey, that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that was a great little cap to that, because that was that's gorgeous. I would love to pivot a little.
Yeah.
Just to a quick little question I like to ask before we start talking about, the future and wrapping things up.
Yeah.
It's a question I like asking all of my guests, because I think it says a lot about who they are as an artist and as a person, because this art form encapsulates everything, or at least a lot of what many forms of art does. What's your favorite movie?
Ooh.
Favorite film, right off the top of your head?
So, honestly,
there it is. You got it.
I think it's Iron Lung. Honestly, right now.
Really?
I know that's so.
It took the cake.
It took the cake. Before it was Alien, I really like Alien.
Yes, that's what I was prepared to talk about.
I
love the film Alien.
So I mean, we can talk about both, or either or. But but I think maybe it's the context that comes with Iron Lung that makes it my favorite. But just the fact that it completely made independently.
Yeah.
The creature design in it.
For sure.
Like the set design of it is just beautiful.
It's a very practical movie.
It's a very practical movie. It's just beautifully made. I know saying Iron Lung is my favorite movie is like a little bit controversial. I know some people loved it, some people hated it. I think that, it was just a beautiful experience, But I mentioned Alien because I see Alien in Iron Lung.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And Alien, even being an add-on to the conversation, is a triumph at the time.
Yeah.
For practical effects, for horror films as a whole, for the concept of extraterrestrial horror. Yeah. Like it set the tone.
Yeah, I've always been an H.R. Geiger fan. Mm-hmm. I watched Alien for the first time when I was like 14,
nice.
And that was when I discovered H.R. Geiger, and so I do try to incorporate a lot of my stuff, mostly just the like just the biomechanics
Yeah.
of fusing like living organisms with machines.
I
and
can
seeing
absolutely see it.
what that looks
Yeah.
like. I also just love the patterns. I think
Mm.
I've been told before that I think just using patterns like that, of being able to do the repetitiveness of that, is what makes me lock in like that,
Mm-hmm.
and like hit flow state.
Flow state,
Yeah.
like we were talking about before. That's awesome. Well, yeah. Go see Iron Lung. I don't think it's in theaters anymore. By the time that this is released, probably not. But go watch it.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I know Markiplier does plan on releasing physical copies of Iron Lung.
And that's
so
so real of him. It's the year of physical media.
it is. It is.
2026. Physical media.
Yes.
I'm buying DVDs again.
Yeah.
That's just true.
I'm using my hack 3DS to read books on it. Like
That's wild.
yeah, I have like a hack 3DS.
That's insane.
Upload like little like EPUB files to it and read it like a book.
Whoa, you're
Yeah.
great. You could just buy a book.
Yeah,
you
I
could
could.
just
I
buy a
could.
book. No, but I appreciate the commitment there.
Yeah.
And go watch Alien.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen that already,
You might as well watch it now.
or you should watch it for the 45th time.
Exactly. I would love to quickly touch on, the future.
Mm.
The rest of this year and beyond. What does it look like for Hadley and her work, dream goals, collaborations, things that you hope to achieve in the next few weeks, months, etc., that you hope people keep an eye on?
I think for 2026, I wanna explore fractomorphia again.
For sure.
And maybe through the next few years exploring fractomorphia. If
Right.
this is something like, if I've got nothing to draw, if there's nothing on my radar, no commissions and no active freelance projects, and I'm not actively working on a community project as well, which I am doing a few of those that are specifically Spamton related.
Oh, funny.
So that is something that I might be doing down the
Okay.
road is doing like fan projects with people.
Do you have any dates for that? Do you know any?
I don't know about specific dates. There was a little fan game that someone made called like Spamton's Fishing Trip, and it just made me laugh. I thought it was hilarious. It's just him in a boat and he's fishing, but all the fish look like him. It's just really funny. It made me laugh, and all the promotional material made me laugh. And I contacted the team and I was like, hey, can I do stuff for you? And they're like, yeah. And so I do banners for like their Game Jolt page, and I do stuff for like their websites and stuff.
Cool.
So I just do like some promo stuff for that. And so the game is not out yet. Obviously, I don't know when. I'm not actually making the game. I'm just
Right.
making all the cool little pretty pictures for it.
Hey, well, that's still exciting.
Yeah,
That's still
and
involvement.
and also just doing obviously I would love to have more commissions
For sure.
down the line. Doing maybe I'll release some of my own merchandise of keychains and stuff, because people have asked me for that.
It's in demand, Hadley.
Yeah. And then I think my big three is working on Fractomorphia.
Yep.
Working on more community projects
Mhm.
that just has my name on it, so people can just know me.
Yeah, building that resume.
Building and building connections with people, and being able
sure,
to
yeah.
keep that momentum of touching people on an emotional, personal level. And then I hope that permeates into the actual community of Philadelphia. I said earlier, I would like to if more needs my help, if more ever wants to collaborate, I'm already an alumni ambassador. I would love to help them. I would love to be a part of that living organism. It's one of the last ones we have left. It's
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's important. More needs support, and I want to support them.
Boom.
So, yeah.
That is a noble and needed energy
Yeah.
for arts and art education
Yeah.
here in this country. So, well, yeah, keep an eye out for everything Hadley's got going on. And we'll obviously, the podcast and myself will obviously keep all of you in the loop as soon as she's got something to check out.
Yeah.
Before we go, I'm going to hit you with a little bit of a lightning round.
Lightning round.
Really quick questions off the top of your head. It's going to be easy. Don't even worry.
Awesome.
Don't even
Okay.
All right. Favorite place to eat here in Philadelphia?
Ooh. Probably T-Moms.
T-Moms. There it is. Call back. A store in Philadelphia you can spend hours in.
Ooh. Philly Aids Thrift.
Philly Aids Thrift.
Yeah.
Shout out Philly Aids Thrift. I love you guys. Do you think you can predict your next hyperfixation art?
Ooh. Well, I don't know about predict. I think if there's a current hyperfixation besides Spamton, it's probably Digital Circus.
The Amazing Digital Circus, yes.
And the next episode comes out on my birthday.
Wow.
So obviously they're releasing the episode because it's my birthday and I'm the birthday girl.
Obviously.
And then so probably Digital Circus, probably.
Love that. What music genre or band would best describe your art style?
Ooh, jungle.
Ooh.
And I don't mean the band, I mean like
the genre.
Jungle drum and bass. I love jungle drum and bass.
Ooh.
I listen to rave music. You want to talk about reaching flow state? Give me those drums.
Give me those drums. Hey, I get that. Who is a teacher you'd credit your current work to?
Ooh.
I'm sure there's many, but
Like
one that comes to mind.
stylistically, or
Yeah.
just someone who's been really like inspirational to me?
Either.
I want to say probably Kevin Mercer
Shout out.
and Joe Kulka.
Yep.
Oh, and Christine Larson. Love you, Larson.
Lovely. Video game you wish you could play again for the first time?
Oh, goodness. For the first time, probably Deltarune.
Probably Deltarune.
Probably Deltarune.
There it is.
Yeah.
And finally, who do you recommend for the phone book? Someone for me to interview.
Have you contacted Carolyn Cash?
No?
Contact Carolyn Cash. See what happens.
Carolyn Cash.
She's
Also,
a comic artist. And
Comic artist.
Yeah,
Ooh,
comic artist.
love that.
Yep.
The only comic artist we've had on the pod is Lee Too.
Yeah.
The lovely Lee Too.
And Lee Too, I think Lee Too knows Carolyn Cash. So
Okay, sick.
Yeah. So
Well, look at
contact
that.
Carolyn Cash. See what happens.
I'll add them to the list.
Yeah.
Yay! Well, thank you, Hadley.
Yeah.
That is the end of lightning round. Look at that. Here we are. Second time around doing the interview. Thank you so much, Hadley. This was awesome. First of all, I just want to say you're a lovely friend of mine.
Yeah.
Your work has been so awesome to see. I'm very, very excited for what you've got coming up. And I am just happy to have known you and continue to know you.
Me too.
So thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This was a lovely conversation. Where can our listeners find you and contact you?
HadleyPrecht.com. I also have an Instagram. Is there a way for me to attach it, or should I just like?
We will attach it. Yeah, but you can if you know the handle.
Awesome.
off the top of your
I think
head.
it's just Hadley Precht _illus.
Right. Short for illustration.
Illustration.
Yes.
Yes.
And best way to contact you is your website?
My website, which has my email. So my
Great.
email is just hadleyprecht@gmail.
There it is.
So there you go.
Look at that. Everywhere that she just shared will be in the description of this episode, as well as the newsletter that will be going out. So if you're not on the newsletter, I highly recommend getting on that.
Yeah.
And everywhere that we post this on social media, primarily our Instagram, if you aren't following us there. That's Philly Phone Book _pod. So with that, that just about wraps up our conversation. Again, just reiterating.
Really nice practice round that we had, though.
Right.
I
I know.
this made it so
It
much
did.
easier. I didn't have to think too hard.
Hey,
you know?
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
It's honestly same.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hadley, for your time. Go follow her, see what she's got going on. And thank you, the listener, for spending a little bit of your day hearing us yap. And I hope you learned something. I hope you felt something. And I hope you share this episode. Give us a like, a review, however you want to show your support. It's definitely seen and appreciated. And yeah, this was another episode of the Philly Phone Book, a podcast archive. I was your host, Gideon Carroll McDonald. Real art is made by real people. Thank your SEPTA drivers, and have a lovely day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There it is. And boom.